after what we said last week about too many top stars, does the WWE also have a problem with too many PLEs this close together? Our thoughts on the big changes to the WrestleMania plans and the change to the Money in the Bank calendar for 2026. Unfortunately for me, this was all announced a few days after I booked my own flights to New Orleans. Will there really be one of the big 5 PLEs with no men's world titles on the line? Plus details on our first ever channel giveaways. All this and more on the Golden Shovel podcast, your weekly recap of all things WWE storytelling. Let's get into it. Back to this week's episode of the Golden Shovel podcast. This is episode 7. It is once again a regularly scheduled weekly update of all things WWE storytelling, where we break down everything that's happened between Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and this week an additional 2 PLEs with Battleground and Saturday night's main event, if you can call that a PLE. But actually, firstly, we're going to jump straight into some of the big stories of the last week from, I guess, the WWE and TKO business point of view. As the Televised podcast says, do we have too many PLEs in the WWE at the moment, this close together? I'm personally saying that we do. I think the biggest obvious issue with that is you look at the Gunther storyline right now. He announced he was challenging the World Heavyweight Champion. 2 PLEs in the future. And then a Monday Night Raw. Daz, thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think they're diluting the importance of the PLEs. I mean, I think that's us putting Saturday night's main event in as a PLE. In my opinion, it isn't. I don't know if it's also because it's coming in at a time where it's post-WrestleMania season, and let's be honest, the PLEs are never great at this time of year anyway, which will feed into a wee bit with Money in the Bank as we move on. But, I mean, we've had, Backlash, we've had Saturday night main event, we're getting Worlds Collide as well. It just all seems very, very compact, and I think we've got too many, and that's possibly why we're not getting the world titles booked on all shows.
Aye, I think there's a huge challenge that they've got at the moment. Backlash is, as it always is for us, it's the first post-WrestleMania. Nothing really tends to happen. Saturday night's main event, again, we'll talk about that in detail later on. There's some funness about it, but there's only some funness about it because collectively we've all said this is a glorified house show, let's not expect anything. Now that we realised that, we enjoy it from a different perspective, but it done nothing to advance the stories. Spoiler alert for the conversation in 20 minutes' time. All it did was essentially put a big roadblock right in the middle of where people want to get to in a few months' time. So we know everybody else is talking about it. We just thought we'd bring it up at the start of the podcast and get our thoughts on it. Again, we'd love to hear from you guys. I'll talk during the mid-episode plug for our socials about what we plan to do with some of these big stories going forward on the new channel. But yeah, I think there's an issue there. I think it's looking very busy, the calendar. You've made the shows you mentioned there, Daz, 100% right, but actually also missing out that they've added Evolution to the weekend of whatever's after Money in the Bank. No, the next Saturday night's main event in July. Yeah. So another busy weekend for the WWE.
And for us.
And for us, Jesus.
I'll be on holiday that week.
That's a good point, actually. I'm actually in Spain.
Nice.
That's not going to be an easy week. The second big news story, we did stick a big TikTok up with it, and we got some conversation. And the shorts was the removal of WrestleMania from New Orleans. Surprised us because New Orleans seems to be really popular with the fans, the wrestlers, everybody alike. It's the Superdome might be the best venue in America for a show like that. You and I have discussed at length, Daz, that WrestleMania should be dark, and as good as Vegas was from a business point of view, the fact that it's a translucent roof means that it feels a bit weird for the first 2.5 hours of the show.
Yep.
Obviously, New Orleans has been rewarded with some other pay-per-views and a future WrestleMania. Ross, is it a right move? Is it a wrong move? Is this purely just business from TKO?
it kind of feels like it's just business. Like, I know that this has happened before where I think it was at WrestleMania 4 and 5 or 5 and 6 did Atlantic City back to back. Like, it's not the newest thing to ever happen in the E, but it seems to me like this is just a money grab. And it's a real shame because, well, when the rumours came out that it was going to be moved, but there had been no leaked location. So there was that sort of 24, 36 hour period where we thought, are they going to come
London.
to the UK? Are we going to be going to our first WrestleMania? But no. And I just hope it doesn't become a thing. But with the way that entertainment sport in general is going, I think this might be the beginning of some really just far too business oriented decisions when they really need to start thinking about the fans at home and how these things look and feel as well. It's not too much of a difference for us. It's a silly time anyway. There's no change there. But yeah, it's just better when it's dark. Take it to different places. It's more fun when Mania comes to your city. If you know it's in Vegas, say every other year, if that's what they move to, that's just not as fun.
Speak for yourself. I mean, I literally booked for flights to New Orleans, and then a couple of days later they went, nah.
Never mind.
One of those perfect storm in a teacup type things. I've got a wife that was always wanting to go to New Orleans, obsessed with Vampire Diaries and whatever else goes on in New Orleans, and the conspiracy theories about vampires being real. WrestleMania's in New Orleans. You're like, this might be the chance to wing it and say, I'll take you, but flights were booked, and now I've got a nice British Airways voucher and the wife that doesn't want to go to Las Vegas.
And even once the football season's off, so you can't go and see the greatest NFL team.
Exactly.
So
speaking of the first giveaway, who wants to go to New Orleans next year when there's none happening? As you say, it's not a huge difference for us. In fact, selfishly, we could argue that every other year in Vegas, every third year in Vegas is good for us because we could plan ahead and say, right, we know we're going to go in a couple of years and do it that way. But from a wrestling fan point of view, it's not what we want to see. Yeah. I'm glad it's not Saudi Arabia because I was really worried that was the only place where there was enough money to make this happen. Mm-hmm. It's obviously not the first time this has happened either because this year they were fully expecting it to be Minnesota. Minnesota's got the 2-night SummerSlam next year, so Vegas has jumped in twice now. I guess the biggest risk is that if it is planning to be a semi-residency type thing, it has to be Mania or SummerSlam because the NFL season is going to impact everything else in terms of the Rumble and War Games or Survivor Series. So that being said, the only report I've seen regarding some sort of residency in Vegas was signed off by what we would describe as an untrustworthy source. Daz?
Fuck Dave Meltzer.
Aye, so take it with a pinch of salt. Final big non-wrestling, non-in-ring storytelling news is the change to the Money in the Bank schedule. It's been pushed back to August, a couple of weeks after SummerSlam for 2026. I've got my thoughts. We've all got our thoughts. Daz, what do you think?
I do think it'll be odd the first year to see it post SummerSlam. It will be a strange feeling. Although, as we've talked about off pod, I think it's a really good change. It allows the possibility of someone to carry the briefcase beyond Mania. Because, let's be honest, nobody wants to see a cash-in at Backlash or, God forbid, Saturday Night Main Event. People want to see it in big stages, and I think opening the door for SummerSlam is a really, really good opportunity. I would like to know if it will run this time when it's in July, if it's going to run July to July, if it's going to run Money in the Bank to Money in the Bank.
Yeah, and you get that extended little...
that extra little period. I think, to be honest, I think this might be the first year ever I've said that they don't get a contract in a calendar year. I don't think I've heard it. It's normally like a vintage Michael Cole. So I'm hoping they'll cover that off. Presumably whoever wins it in their promo will cut that they've got 14 months or whatever to cash it in.
And then we'll know.
And then we'll know for sure. But yeah, I'm a fan. think it's a good change.
Yeah, I totally agree. As you said, we had this conversation off pod too often. They're having to give up one of the contracts really early, have a really early cash in. Now, that being said, I'm still fully expecting a cash in either in that tag team title main event or tag team main event that we're expecting. Cena and Logan Paul versus Cody and Jay, or on the Monday night. But I think it's needed to shake up for a while. It wasn't that long ago that we were discussing should it just go back to being a Mania match. Because arguably that fits better in WWE's calendar. That was obviously, it became its own event when you had Raw and SmackDown, men and women. So you had 4 briefcases for a short period of time. So yeah, straightforward, dead simple, good change, but it needs a wee bit of balancing for the first year. And as you said, I'd imagine that'll be addressed either on the show or by the winner. So yeah, guys, we're going to move into the main bit of the pod, looking back at all 4 events from the last 7 days. Now we have trialled this week just a slight change to the order. We're going to do SmackDown into Saturday night's main event, then do NXT into Battleground before we wrap up the Raw at the end, just to see how it looks with the PLEs, because most of SmackDown did play out with Saturday night's main event, so it's pretty quick. Before we do jump on any further, you will notice this week we're on a different channel. We've had the wrestling stuff took off really, really well for us. We've had some gaming content take off well, as in addition to that, in the last couple of weeks. But we feel as though that it's just too different an audience and too different a niche. So we've spun the Golden Shovel off. It's on TikTok and YouTube. All the information will be both sides of the screen, possibly. Some more Ross moves every week, but we'll have the Nerd Pandemic and the Golden Shovel details somewhere. Everything will be in the description. Please go and follow us in all the places. I'll detail the giveaways in the next mid-episode break. But the biggest change is that we'll be able to be more reactive and bring you more content on a weekly basis regarding wrestling. We have held back massively because we don't want to overwhelm the variety channel with wrestling content, essentially. So the likes of those stories, we'll be reacting to them during the week rather than waiting to the Tuesday every time, and hopefully have more opportunity to interact with you guys. So it does mean there'll be no lives for a while because we're probably to start again on TikTok and YouTube, so we've got at least a month we need to wait unless we decide to go live on the main channel. But yeah, the Golden Shovel Podcast on YouTube, at Golden Shovel Podcast on TikTok, and also go and follow Nerd Pandemic for all other nerdiness. SmackDown resident expert Daz, quick hits. What you got for us?
Yes, quick hits will be quick this week. There's not a lot of talking in it, I'll be honest. It was a pretty lacklustre episode. I'll kick us off with possibly the most disappointing title reign so far, Zelina Vega. In the match, purely eat the pin. I feel like every week we devalue this title more and more and more. Really, really disappointing. From one bad female introduction to another, Secret Service versus B-Fab, etc. Just what are we doing? I mean, for a show that's got such a strong men's tag division, we're throwing together absolutely ass matches like that. And the women's side, yeah, not a huge fan. Quick hit, I am happy to talk about. Ciampa Sabin was particularly good. I feel like we're maybe rerunning an angle with Candice LeRae, maybe one too many times to have her align with DIY. But no, I thought it was really, really good. We're going to play out this Motor City Machine Guns and DIY till we're blue in the face, I think, because the other two are in the title picture, which we'll get to. But yeah, in terms of quick hits, I'll be honest, not a lot for SmackDown this week to talk about. I'll move into the main points for SmackDown, and we'll start with the megastar. We'll start with LA Knight.
Yeah.
I'll come to you guys for your thoughts on this. I just want to open with Nakamura. What are we doing with Shinsuke? We had the promo, I think, the week before about him coming back that was going to build him as a potential, surprise winner of this triple threat.
Yeah.
and just wasn't. He just, I don't really. Are we winding down time on contract here for Shinsuke to move him on? I don't know. But not Ross. What did you think, triple threat wise?
I don't know if it's like a WWE still don't actually know what to do with him, but they surely can be at this point several years in, because he does still look cool. Like, he does. The whole presentation stuff does look kind of cool, but it's had its day. Just send it back. I thought that the triple threat itself was okay. The triple threat itself was fine. It was nice to see LA Knight go over. We've had some concerns in the last few weeks that he's been eating so many goddamn pins that was becoming a problem. He's always good in those matches, these multi-men matches. He's always good value, so he couldn't not be in it. I think he's like a glue guy in these multi-men matches. He's great for them. But it was always going to be the same person who hit that pin, and it is a running theme across the E for the last 3 or 4 weeks that they just have this obsession with triple threats with an obvious pin eater. It just won't go away. It will not go away, and I'd make it stop, please, Darren. Just make it stop. I can't take it anymore.
Listen, I'm only the SmackDown expert. I'll book the show.
that was the main talking point last week, Ross, wasn't it? That these triple threats are just okay. You can maybe have an argument about who's actually winning the match, but you all know who's eating the pin.
Yeah.
Nakamura. Yeah, you can say the presentation's there, but there needs to be some substance behind it, especially when he's this far into his career. I loved his in-ring work. I loved the original music. Lee England with the violin, like, he was so over. The crowd singing his theme was one of the early ones that the Yanks actually get involved in, rather than waiting on us Europeans to take the lead with it. Arguably, ever since he lost at Wrestlemania AJ Styles, his career's just nosedived in WWE. Yeah. And we can all look back and blame Vince, but I'd even look back and say that Vince was probably right. Like,
maybe he was.
It's easy to say, did that kill him, or was that just a prediction of his career stalling in the WWE? On the flip side, I keep waiting. I love LA Knight. I think as a professional wrestler, it's like the storytelling and the character and the connection with the crowd is like perfect. It's brilliant. That's his job. He is the best in the company at that, in my opinion. He's, or at least up there. And I've been waiting for the last 3 years for it to die off, and it just hasn't happened. And I'm like, it's actually 2 years since Money in the Bank London, where we were saying this has to be his year. That's how, it wasn't last year that they denied him, it was 2 years ago, and he's still this over.
Yeah.
We've said, and I'm saying it, I'm going to say it right now, it doesn't look like Logan Paul's going to be in the match. It doesn't look like Dom Mysterio's going to be in the match, and if he is, he's the IC title. I don't think he'll carry both. Unless it's an interference to give Rollins the briefcase, LA Knight should take this briefcase.
I think there is a dark horse. And I don't know who the other two are in the triple threat, unless I missed it.
There's one spot left, I think. Maybe 2 spots.
Fatu, but I think Fatu might be a dark horse as much as he's got the US title, because his program with Solo is coming to a head, which we'll obviously come to. I think that we'll touch on Solo, Fatu, and JC in a second. It's a little bit quicker than a quick kick, because I think there's a wee bit to unpack in there. The last thing I wanted to say on the LA Knight triple threat, they found a really good way to put LA Knight over without making Black look weak.
Yeah.
And the whole Black's finisher to win it for LA Knight.
Yeah, and then just getting him out of the
Black
way.
look particularly good. I don't know what they book for Black moving forward. I don't know where he's, because you can see a direction with Rusev now on Raw. We can kind of see where his first program's going to go. I'm not really sure what we'll get with Black. They're still kind of teasing that Mellow Miz with the background segment after. But I don't see a long-term booking for Black on SmackDown. And I'm not sure where he fits in, if I'm honest. Could it be that US title picture post-Fatu? I don't know. And we'll just fade right into Fatu whilst we're talking about it. Yeah, I'm really intrigued by this Jacob Fatu, Solo Sikoa, JC Mateo, if we're calling him by that, nonsense name they've given him. The breakup's coming with Solo and
Oh, yeah.
Jacob. It's definitely the writing's on the wall for it. And I think if you put the two of them in the Money in the Bank, I think that's where it's going to break. One's going to screw the other. Probably Solo screwing Fatu with JC is the likelihood. I wouldn't hate to see Solo take the briefcase. I don't think that's terrible booking. I've actually enjoyed his revival. Recently. I think he's been entertaining. He's been quite funny. So, yeah, I'm intrigued by the whole scenario and how that's going to play out, because you've also got the Kevin Owens will kill me if I get this wrong. The Tongans, who still have a part to play in this somewhere.
At
Do you know what I
some
mean?
point,
Yeah, there's a
They're
twist
still
coming.
part of that bloodline story. So
I don't
know where they go. I really don't.
I don't think I've got anything to add to what you said there. I think it's fair. It's straight. I think it ties back into what we discussed at the start, that it's almost a victim of having too many PLEs, because we all said that Solo versus Fatu is a likely SummerSlam match. But that was before we realised there's going to be like 7 PLEs between me and SummerSlam. It's like, well, we're already feeling like we're dragging it out, and we've still got like 2.5 months to go. Whereas, had it just been Backlash, Money in the Bank, and maybe one more, it would have been okay. It could have worked. I'm just looking at the notes for this week's SmackDown. So the 5th spot for the men's Money in the Bank match will be a triple threat between Carmelo Hayes, Jacob Fatu, and Pinita Andrade.
Oh well, Fatu's definitely in the match then.
Yeah,
Fatu's
so
in the match.
that, yeah.
And then for the but interestingly, for the women's match, it's Jade Cargill, Naomi, Nia Jax.
Nia has to go over. Nia
has to go over. I think Naomi eats the pin.
Probably.
I can't see them pinning. I can't see Cargill taking the pin.
Cargill will take the pin. Unless Nia eats the pin. But so that'll be an interesting match. That's less obvious in terms of a pin here.
Yeah, but that is one that we're actually intrigued to see how they do that. It's
arguably the second best story. It's up there as one of the top stories in SmackDown. The three of them have done a great job, especially with Shad and Tiffany to that.
And it's a shame we're not going to talk about them this week, because there's nothing really to write home about them this week.
I think that's
so we'll move on to the main event, essentially SmackDown. And I know that we could talk about this for a long time. The tag division is so far above the division on any other brand, on any other show. You know what I mean? So
in any other company.
Absolutely. It's I could watch the Street Profits wrestle forever. I think Ford and Dawkins are excellent. I'm going to give you my fantasy booking right now, and I want Fraxium and Street Profits in an Iron Man match. That's what I want. I want a tag Iron Man match. I'd love to watch them go for 60 minutes.
That'd be great.
I think it would be insane.
Though I think you would have 4 broken people by the end of it, but I am all there to watch it.
All 4 are
if we're not getting a World Championship match, men's side,
I have to main event.
Money in the Bank, that needs to be on the card. It won't main event, but it needs to be. I find I'd have that open the show.
Oh yeah.
In my opinion, it would be the main event. In my opinion, it would be the main event.
It would be a match of the night.
100%. Yeah, I think the match itself was good. Watching the two, you're guaranteed a solid 8 anytime the two teams get in the ring. I know that Nathan Fraser's had a wee bit of flack recently for being somewhat unsafe. Pinch of salt with whether or not you think he's unsafe. But they're being booked really well. Fraxium, that you kind of go and pin the Street Profits every week. They've been booked well, even when they don't win. They look good. So I'm really intrigued where the SmackDown tag division goes, because we know what happened at the end. The lights go out. Montez with possibly the greatest style of shock I've seen in a long time, blessing himself in the top rope with that look in his face. I do think they need to get the White Six booking right. They're on their last legs in terms of booking it correctly. I think giving them some gold will help. I don't think it'll be the men's tag team titles. I think it could be Alexa and Nikki with the women's tag titles. I don't know when they're going to book that or how they're going to book that. I would like to see Wyatt Six as almost like they don't have a brand. They just kind of float between whatever they want to be. I don't really know who they're targeting, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
It's the issue with the constant stop-start of their general run. And it's not their fault injuries happen, but that is the issue. Because the last they were on tape, it was Gable they were going after.
Yeah, but for the right reason, because the whole booking was you go against people who turn on those that they're supposed to love.
Yes.
And which one of those two teams in that ring are you really going after? I don't get it. See, if it was DIY, they two are constantly turning on each other. Like, I could get it. I think that's why it screams to me that it's going to be the women's tag titles, because that breakup is imminent between Raquel, Liv, and Roxanne. That's coming.
Yeah.
Spoiler
alert.
Oops.
But you're right, though.
Yeah,
I think that's a really, really good bit of fantasy booking. I like it.
I'm really unsure where.
I don't want Alexa anywhere. I don't want Alexa anywhere near Wyatt Six, because she's come back to the main roster. She's looked amazing. She's looked brilliant. The crowd's over with, and I'm just like, I think
that's what they need, though.
I just expect it to not work again. And
they need a mouth. That's the problem. They need a mouth, because Howdy can talk every week on Raw. That's not. It's video packages. Is Howdy's thing. I don't know if he can cut a promo as Uncle Howdy. I mean, how might work if any?
We
believe.
Does
any work as Howdy?
Nothing that I think overly memorable. I don't, and even if he has that, that's not a good sign.
I know.
If I don't think
that Alexa is a really good, would be a good addition, but she would need to be almost the leader, if you like,
without being in it.
Without,
yeah. I don't want to say the CEO, because that's another female wrestler's gimmick, but
yeah. I think what we need is like a Alexa to be the mouthpiece for them, but I don't particularly want to see her. I mean, I'm happy to see her tag with Nikki Cross. The two of them have shown that they've got chemistry before, but do I want it to be a full-time booking? I really don't know, because I don't see a program for Alexa beyond this thing with Charlotte, because it's not going to be long-term. So, I really don't know what the Wyatt. I mean, it was a great surprise. I wasn't expecting to see Wyatt Six on Friday night. Where do we go? Who are they targeting? What's the reason behind that match being the choice? Miz and Melo, maybe. Like, I just can't make my mind up who were there to target. Or was it just a statement because it was the main event?
Aye, I think it was. Well, we wrap up SmackDown and jump into SNME. Ross, just to ask you this question to wrap up SmackDown. Is, again, back to the title of this podcast this week, is SmackDown impacted by the fact that every other week they've got a Saturday show to build into?
You can tell they are, because the fact that it's been 2 hours back to back when they've had a weekend show, that they don't really know what to fully do other than just put Fraxium out there to go and cause chaos. And I mean, it works. It's great, but yeah, I think that they need to do something just to fix everything else before Fraxium to give them a chance, I think.
Aye.
It's the issue you've got with having a weekly episode kind of Friday and all your PLEs moving to Saturdays. It's
the only downside.
It's a challenge of work, especially if you want to book 6 PLEs a month. So it really is a challenge for them. I mean, if you're looking at the weekend of Evolution coming up, right, you would like to. I mean, I say this, you would like to think they're not going to book women on Saturday night main event and then on Evolution, but you're really going to have a women-free Saturday night main event. Do you know what I mean? It's like, how do you tell that story from Friday, Saturday, Sunday into a Monday? They're just booking 4 nights out.
It's almost like a big, massive company has taken control of the WWE and went to get our investment money back.
Maybe that crazy old man was right. About some things, by the way.
Aye. I was going to say, we need to put a disclaimer.
I don't want to. Apologies.
cancelled.
Saturday night's main event. Overall, as we've said, if we just will go into accepting that it's a glorified house show with cameras, you can enjoy the in-ring action sometimes. However, this one I felt particularly was poor, and that it just feels like a big roadblock right in the middle of the stories.
These old PLE sober.
I know. Well, but again, you think about Roadblock that year they had it before WrestleMania. It was like Triple H's warm-up show, but it was completely stupid. It made no sense. Why would you have Dean Ambrose challenge for a title when you know it's Roman versus Triple H in the main event WrestleMania? Anyway, aye. I mean, don't worry, we were all slightly hoping that somehow it would have been a Shield triple threat, but it was never going to happen.
Anyway, we digress.
I want to try and rattle through this as quickly as possible because it was that shit. I don't want to waste any time on it. The tag match was always going to be good. It's three of the best in the world and an up-and-comer. We'll not go into too much detail because a lot of it's going to, if we talk too much right now, I'm really struggling for what we talk about in the first hour of Raw. But Bronson Reed is the third man. I'm happy with that. The guy's a monster. Ross, coming to you in this one, my only concern here is you've got Rollins and 2 bits of muscle. Feels a bit unusual for a stable.
Yeah, it's a bit. It's going down a path that I don't really know what's going on. I think it could work though. I think that you're right. He's a big slab of meat next to a big slab of meat. You've seen it at the end of Raw when they're essentially, spoiler alert, sent out like attack dogs. That's clearly going to be the sort of running theme here. Does that story have any legs for more than 3-4 months? It remains to be seen. But, anything that Paul Heyman touches turns to gold. So I'm willing to give them some benefit of the doubt. And it's just nice to see Bronson Reed back. It's good to see him back and involved.
I do agree, by the way. Bronson it's nice to see him get, because obviously he was supposed to get his moment in Australia and it didn't happen. He looked excellent when he went over on Seth with all his tsunamis, etc. So I think as an addition, this is a great pick. Big Bronson. My only concern, like you say, about the whole attack dog thing, and it's just like a non-Samoan bloodline at this stage. We're just rebooting. Seth's never going to win clean. It's constantly going to be the 2 guys are always going to appear. It's like we get it with the Judgment Day every week. Are we going to get it with them as well? Like, how often are we going to see a clean finish?
Also, eventually, Braun and Braun, essentially, have to move on to the next level. And don't get me wrong, they are both main event players. But you've got to transition from essentially being Seth's bitch, and they're both going to have to do it at the same time, or one of them will have to continue to be Seth's bitch, which is like, how do you manage that? The other aspect is, and again, we want to see it playing out. Paul Heyman as a manager is special, but he needs to come and go. We're now into the 6th straight year of him being on TV every week as a manager. Rollins doesn't need a mouthpiece. He is the mouthpiece.
Yeah.
Should Heyman be working with somebody else?
He will be. And I'll touch on it in Raw in more detail, but yeah.
Aye, right. I'll give you, Daz, I'm giving you 30 seconds on this. No more, please. Zelina versus Chelsea. Crowd is flat. The whole feud hasn't worked. The title feels buried. People are talking about Zelina getting a hard time for her botch versus a man wouldn't get the same hard time. Zelina's getting a hard time for her botch because it's coming at the end of what's been quite a disappointing 6 weeks for that title. What do you think?
I mean, I mentioned it at the top of the pod when we started SmackDown with the quick hits. It's a really uninspiring title run. Chelsea Green's a brilliant worker. And I'll be honest, prior to this, I thought Zelina was actually quite talented in ring. I thought she lacked the mic skills and the promo skill to go and be a champion. But it was such a poor match. It was such a bad display that there's no justification for that botch at that level. Like, I understand you can miss time going through the ropes, but she actually stops mid-spin
and then kicks
in the face anyway. I mean, the broken nose for Chelsea's, it's unacceptable for a champion to be botching at that level. If you're going to if you miss time it, then don't kick them in the face. Botch the move, just accept the botch and recover. You know what I mean?
You've botched
That's
it
all
more
really
by
is.
trying to save it.
Especially when it wasn't even the finish. The finish was code red for the top rope for the turnbuckle. So it's not like you botched the finish and you tried to recover it. You've just botched a move.
Kicked her in the face because you didn't
I
do
like
your job.
I like Zelina and I like Chelsea, but that title needs moving on. I said last week, could it be Julia? I hope it is. I think that's a great place for an up and coming to take that title.
I just don't know why they took it off Chelsea to give it to Zelina. Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
But you mean the same week that Zelina's husband returned to the company with a new contract? It's no obvious why she was given the title.
Listen, I don't make the rules. I'm just.
It's GTV signing.
Anyway, we'll move on to Zelina.
Match number 3. I'm just going to take 20 seconds on this and we're going to move the fuck on. John
Which is about
versus
roughly
Ron.
as long as the match actually lasted for.
Apparently the match went 4:25. Looking at it here.
The length of a TikTok, really.
They had an opportunity to tell a bit of a story. They didn't. I'm more confused as to why it was now on the card at all. Like, we were all semi-invested in R-Truth potentially being the beacon of light that brings Super Cena back, right? That there was an opportunity to do something. Instead, it's just like, well, R-Truth's not buried because R-Truth's so over as a comedy act. It doesn't need John's just like, I'm confused. It's not a golden shovel worth it. It's just completely and utterly pointless. So that's all I'm going to say there. I don't need anything else. R-Truth versus John Cena was a complete waste of everybody's time, even though only went 4 minutes and 25 seconds. Agreed?
That's fair.
Agreed. The motion passes.
I'll throw my net in the line and say match of the night, probably, again, between arguably the two best workers in the company right now. On the men's side, Damien and Drew. Personally feels that this should have went one match too long. But it's only went one match too long because the guys are so good, there's nowhere else for them to go. That's it, isn't it?
Yeah, I think they ran it as long because Drew is taking some time off and you need somebody convincing to put him on the shelf. I mean, I thought that the cage match was actually really good. I really enjoyed it. I don't know if Jesse Ventura added to the spectacle. It's really refreshing to hear a heel on comms supporting the bad guys. I really like it. I'll not spend too long talking about these two bad guys who like to beat each other up. It's good. It's fun to watch. There's no technical wrestling really. It's just really, really good storytelling. And yeah, don't get me wrong, Drew should have won.
Yeah,
and Drew would have won had he not been taking time off. It would have been time to end the feud and have Drew win, and that would be it. But if we're writing Drew off TV to kill time to try and bring him into a main event picture, I'm fine with the outcome.
That's exactly what to come to you with, Ross. I want your thoughts on the Jesse Ventura commentary, because I think it helped make Drew look strong as an heel lost in a poor way. But also, I don't know if there's issues with Drew if he's injured. Obviously, you know that usually every couple of years he's getting visa problems just to go back to the air embassy, which, for anybody to spoil it, does not exist. I was in air 3 days ago. There's no embassy there. There is no air embassy. We know there's always occasionally these issues, although I think he's married to an American now, so it shouldn't matter. We know there's personal trouble back home, family issues in the last few years, so he's obviously spent a bit of time at home. But is this part of the cycle that we all expected, where you to keep somebody like Drew and eventually Punk away from the title picture till the time is right? Are we expecting Drew McIntyre in a world title picture when he returns?
I would think so. I think that they've taken the opportunity to give him rehab, and it just so happens to coincide with that. I'm sure I read a report the other day that claimed that he's been working injured during this program.
Who wrote the report?
It might have been Meltzer. I'm unsure, but certainly I think the quote was that he couldn't fully.
Don't make me tap the sign.
He couldn't fully turn his head at any given point.
Oh yeah, he's got a trap nerve.
So yeah, fine. If he needs to go out and he's decided that he's more than happy to get beaten down in a cage, I think that deserves a bit of respect. I think that we're right. As much as in kayfabe terms, he's going to have to build himself back up when he comes back, because he has taken a few pins and a few L's. He doesn't. He'll just come back.
Is the Royal Rumble conceivably too far away?
I would like to see him back before
I don't mean
that.
in terms of bringing him back on TV. They'll be back on TV Survivor Series this time. But is the Rumble? Could he win the Rumble?
Yes.
I think there's.
100%.
I think you could make a really compelling argument.
He's not my pick, but he could
do well.
Yeah.
And I think as massive homers, we would love to see that.
I went on the record last week and I said that other people, Americans, are saying the same thing. Is Drew McIntyre the best professional wrestler in the world today? If you think about his mic work, in-ring work, his social media work, is there anyone better? Like,
he's miles clear of Will Ospreay anyway, let me tell you.
I'm miles clear of Ospreay.
A glorified Logan Paul wannabe. Anyway,
main event time. Speaking of Logan versus Jay, again, I'm not wasting too much time on this. It was fine. It was always setting up Cody's return. Cody's back. The question is, do we care? Does?
No. When he ran to the ring, he was announced as the quarterback. He's not my quarterback.
Not anymore.
Even during his title run was pretty bland, to be honest. He's a pop. Like, I'm sick of seeing him in his stupid suit everywhere he goes. Don't get me wrong. Would have hated Logan taking the title. Only because it would have been on a shit show like Saturday Night Main Event. I'd be happy to see Logan take the title off him. The weirdest thing for me was the backstage segment with Jey Uso with John Cena, and John was talking like this, and it was really, really weirding me out. I don't know. John's clearly having fun with heel run, whatever's happening.
He's loving life, isn't he?
But yeah, setting up the interference and on Jay, obviously kind of confirmed that Cody was coming back like we all expected. I really, really hope he doesn't win the title at SummerSlam. It's just not the guy to take the title back. He doesn't need the rub. He's had the rub and he's shown that he's not a great champion. Let's be honest.
Who's not a great champion?
The alleged quarterback. I'm not turning on John. I think Cody's a good company champion. I'll give him that. I think he is a brand, like similar to Roman, in the sense that he's great for the business. I don't enjoy watching his matches. You could not get me excited for a Cody Rhodes match unless he's in the ring with somebody that does excite me.
I'm the opposite. I liked his matches, but as I've said about a lot of people in the last since we did this podcast, I've said it about Tiffany and I've said it about Charlotte. You've shown, and I'm going to say it about Lyra when we come to Raw. You've shown what you can do in this scenario. He showed us what he could do when he was chasing the title and he finished the story. He showed us what he could do holding the title, and I don't blame him for the run because we talked about Gunther. They were too busy keeping main event players away from world titles for too long. Like try to protect too many people. But now he needs to. I think he just has to change. Like, we've seen him as the monster face. It's great. I don't think he should take the title back. I just think there's other people. I think Drew. I think Punk. I think Roman. I think Seth. I think there's Damian Priest. MD.
Right. See if you look back, like you're right. Cody chasing the title was all about finishing the story, right? See if you remove Cody and Roman. Give me one good Cody Rhodes feud as
Kevin
champion.
Owens.
Who carried the feud?
I was going to say, don't ask me for a second.
Who carried the feud?
And we've said that. Again, you talk about the best professional wrestlers in the world, and if you're saying Drew McIntyre's one, I would put Kevin Owens in my top 5. And my top 5 my top 5 may have 8 people in it. But he's the best in the feud.
If you're going to be QB1, you need to be the person to carry the feud. And aside from Kevin Owens, he's not had a believable program where he is that guy. He is top.
Is that his fault? Is that his fault?
Yes. Well, look at the Attitude Era.
Ross, come in here and play with me. Ross, is that Cody's fault?
Cena did it multiple times in the Ruthless Aggression Era. He was up against absolute chaff, and he still looked excellent as champion. Cody's not that guy. Cody can't elevate the talent the way that Roman elevated Cody.
I don't know, man. I've always felt there's a little bit of something about Cody Rhodes that I always have kind of enjoyed it. I'm not being contrarian for the sake of being contrarian, but I have always kind of enjoyed watching his stuff. I think he when he went away and he left the last time and he went and built himself up. He came
He was
back.
better as Stardust.
But that's the same as I've just said. He was chasing something. That's what I'm saying, and I'm not writing it off. I'm not saying I dislike it, but he was like even when he literally started AEW to get back to WWE. He didn't write himself out of the AEW title picture because he didn't know what he was saying as an EVP calling the shots. It's because he wanted to be WWE champion. No one wants to be AEW champion. It doesn't matter. Fuck. They don't even book it in their own shows. They don't even book it in their own main event. Literally, your biggest feud in AEW this year was Cope versus Moxley, and Cope says, "I don't care about all title. I just want to beat the shit out of you." They don't care about their own title, so why would Cody care about it? But it just show me something.
There's only one way to save Cody Rhodes, right? Because he is in serious danger.
Hey, how about a heel turn?
Yes, I don't think they're going to put the title back on Cody at SummerSlam, which means if he doesn't get it at SummerSlam, he needs to wait a hell of a long time to get it because somebody else is going to take it off John. So Cody needs a heel turn because his character is stale as old bread. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of him screaming down the mic every week that we're in Rhodes country or some fucking pish like that. I'm getting so bored of the character. It's repetitive. I'm just I want more from him. He tells a great story if he's latching onto his dad's legacy and trying to finish the story. It's a compelling story.
It's
But
done.
what story is he telling now?
That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying I'm bored of that. I need to see the start of our transition. Ross, final thoughts on Saturday night's main event. What do you think of the former champion returning and rather than calling out the new champion, asks for a tag match in the main event of a big 5 PLE?
Right bag.
I don't know, man. It's just weird. I don't get it.
GB3.
There's not really anything I can say other than, but why though?
How else are we going to book Travis Scott?
Why
Honest.
do you mean why? You just got to look at the title of this podcast. There's too many fucking PLEs. They're trying to drag this out beyond 6 events to get SummerSlam.
And that's right, Cody's going to be on Evolution.
And the worst thing about it is Brandy won Evolution. The worst thing about it is we're once again getting another PLE. We were not getting somebody Cena should be wrestling. Like that's the thing that's annoying me. It's like, okay, we think Cena will probably wrestle Punk at some point. We think he might get Orton again. Well, that could be his last match, let's be honest. If he's not to take that, might be his last match as a farewell. We thought possibly Drew. That might not happen now. We thought there's also possible for Roman or Rollins. I don't think both. That's pretty much the PLE's taken up.
Yeah.
So
you only got 3 big PLEs left.
Aye. And Cena didn't go to Saudi the last time, am I right in saying? So
he is booked for Saudi this time, though.
He is booked for this time. He's booked for Australia as well. So he's going to get his matches there, but there just feels as though there's missing opportunities there, like to elevate somebody else. So I think the outcome of Saturday night's main event is if you treat it like a glorified house show, it's fun, but it just felt like all the stories had to stop for a couple of days, and then we need to pick them back up. And honestly, see, the only way we can save this is if somehow in that main event, do you remember when Hornswoggle won the Cruiserweight title? And the reason he won it was because he slid into the ring as the ref rang the bell. As if there's a cash in during the tag match, because there's 5 folk in the ring, we somehow have a fatal 5-way, unofficially, and maybe it just creates a bit of chaos. Maybe it lets Logan Paul walk away with a fucking title. Maybe it just lets something stupid happen that's like, well, at least it was interesting. But see if we just get a tag match, we hit Fiend, and Bad Bunny comes out, I'm going to be sitting there going, why the fuck am I watching this at 3:30 in the fucking morning?
Because you'll know they'll book it as a main event. You know that for a fact.
That's the main event. That's what I'm saying. I will be sitting here at half 3 in the morning wanting to...
Your Travis Scott t-shirt.
In fact, my Travis Scott t-shirt on, listen to me. Just give me... Honestly, it's going to be the title of the podcast, and we're going to get to it, and we're going to need to rattle through NXT and Raw really quickly, but I am really starting to struggle with the whole Cena retirement run. It's
been booked poorly.
it's just getting worse. They're just steering the skid of this is going to be shite, so just make
Because
it
it's
shit.
all appearances. He's booked for Friday night on SmackDown, him and Cody. There's another appearance. We wasted an appearance on Ron Cena. We're wasting an appearance in a fucking stupid tag match. Like, do you know what I would have loved? Fuck off the briefcase. Have him defend it in the Money in the Bank. Do you know what I mean? Have him defend his title in the ladder match. That would have been good. I'm waiting for the big feud, and it's not coming because
that's what I'm saying. That's every
Punk was advertised for Saudi, and they've took him off the package for Saudi.
Every feud right now is the same. Like, we're waiting. We know, like we know Punk will main event WrestleMania Night 2 in the next 2 years because he deserves it. He's a huge star. We know he'll probably be world champion again. We know Rollins will be world champion. We know Braun and Bronson are going to be tag champions, but it's like we can't pull the trigger at the same time. But it's pulling the trigger at the same time is arguably better than not pulling the trigger. Like, is Gunther really going to take that title back?
Because this is the issue I've got. This is the issue I've got with Saudi and all these PLEs. John's booked for Night of Champions, which means he's got to be holding gold to be on the show. It's impossible to be on the card without it, right?
Unless he's challenging back for it.
But it's champion v champion in Saudi.
Is that what they're doing? Oh, are they still doing that though?
I think so.
Aye. Okay.
As far as I'm aware, it will be champion v champion at Night of Champions. So
you said champion a lot of times in a very short space of time.
But it's going to be rolling.
So that's another event where you're not defending your world title.
Well, it might be champion versus champion. That's a possibility.
But that's this Grand Slam title thing that they have in it. So it's not going to be for either world title. So again, if that's what happens,
that's also not true. It could be world champ versus mid card champ. So you could get Fatu Cena and Rollins Dirty Dom, because let's face it, Jay's not going to be world champion by the time we go to Saudi. But yeah, I really don't know what they're doing with this Cena retirement tour. I am still going to hang in because it is John Cena, and I'm hoping that we get the payoff eventually, but I'm beginning to lose interest.
Ross, what time are we at here?
We're 52 minutes in.
Right, let's try and get NXT done by the hour, and then I'll rattle us through the Raw stuff because I've got a few more talking points at the end of the whole pod. Ross, you've basically graduated to be the NXT expert on a weekly basis.
Mm-hmm.
Let's, if you can, give us NXT as a quick hit. We'll know the rebuttal, just a minute of what happens on NXT
fine, yeah.
and that we need to know.
So largely, I thought it was okay. There wasn't an awful lot to particularly write home about. The two things that stuck out to me is, you guys know, I love chaos. Chaos is the greatest thing that they do in the WWE, and that triple threat between Shawn Legacy, Javon Evans, and Ashanti that started the show was a little bit of a slow burn, and then just sort of someone ignited the touch paper, and it just kind of went a bit daft. That was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that a lot. You had the run-in by Paige on Ricky Saints. That is great, fantastic. Give me more of that. Then the show kind of ticked along, and it was fine. And then the one other thing that was certainly humorous was, so Trick Williams does his concert. Did anyone notice that he tripped over his words once or twice and then nearly burst out laughing at himself trying to do it? There is one moment where he's really straight face and then just kind of goes and then tries to keep on. That was funny. But then that was kind of it, really, to be honest. And then that kind of takes us into Battleground. We had a brief discussion earlier on in the week off air, and we'll keep that Battleground to the sort of the three big title matches, which were quite conveniently the last three matches on the card, which was quite a nice jumping off point. So I'll jump into the first one, then we can kind of go from there. Was is anyone going to dethrone Stephanie? Is she stoppable?
Yes.
I think that there's two things that jump out in that situation. Is obviously a couple of weeks ago we actually said in the pod, it looks as though she's now in the main event.
Is he
seems to have changed. She's not worked.
You're back now. You're fine.
I'm back. You're back.
I saw a few weeks ago in the pod we did say that it looked as though she was on the main roster permanently. That seems to have changed. I personally think it will. It's only going to happen one of two ways. I'm assuming they're keeping the title on her through Worlds Collide and possibly Evolution.
I think you're right, yeah. I
would say, guys, looking for your thoughts on this, it'll still be Jordan Grace, or they'll just strip her the title when she gets called up. That's my two thoughts on that. Don't know if you agree or disagree.
Yeah, I think one thing NXT's always been good at is signing off their champions. And
apart from Keith Lee.
90%, yeah, well, 90% of the time it's a passing of the torch. So it's handed over to someone else and you get applauded at the building. I think it needs to be Jordan Grace, if I'm honest.
She's really good.
She's the one that's went from TNA to WWE.
As world champion.
Yeah, and I think it's weird. I don't know. Well, I do know why she's in developmental, because there isn't a place for her on the main roster. It's overcrowded, which is why she's in developmental. I don't know if they expected Steph to be the star she is, and I think that's maybe what's curtailed Jordan Grace's rise in NXT. I don't think they expected Steph to be this popular. She's probably on a par with LA Knight in terms of she could do anything in the ring and people will love her. I mean, you've seen her doing her finisher, and the entire crowd did the Booker T meme. Like,
yeah,
it's insane, and it's unusual for without disrespecting the brand, a third-rate talent, because that's what they are. They're developmental.
Yeah, that's true.
To be that over on the flagship show. So, for me, it should be Jordan Grace. She's put her work in. She deserves it. And she's a really, really good placeholder for NXT. She's strong. For me, it should be Jordan Grace. I just think if we kind of just let her vacate the title. I do think, though, it could be at Evolution that she drops the title. I don't think it will be on NXT. I think it will be Evolution.
There is one thing you need to consider here. Evolution's obviously 13th of July on the Sunday. The Saturday night's obviously Saturday night's main event, which is fine. The Saturday afternoon is NXT Great American Bash. Are they going to pull double duty? Like, it'll be interesting to see how they manage that.
Where is Great American Bash?
Where
is it? Is it like the same? Is it the same place?
So the same city, but a smaller venue. So all three events are Atlanta, Georgia, but it's a smaller. That's what
I was going to say. I wasn't sure if they were booking Evolution elsewhere and having the two together on the Saturday night. Okay, yeah. The answer to that is yes. Steph will pull double duty.
Retain the Saturday and drop it the Sunday.
Yes, and that's why Jordan Grace will win the title, because there's a way to make her look strong and dropping the title. I think it will be double duty.
Ross, a guy we've been massively impressed with in the last few weeks, Miles Bond.
Yeah.
He just looks better and better every week, and he's wrestling a main roster style to the point where is he going to be NXT champion, or is he going to be in the main roster and just jump that kind of pass to the torch?
They have some options with him. I think this is kind of ultimately what happens when you invest the time and effort both in the ring, even in the comm booth, and backstage and in the PC. You get the fruits of your labour. They were hinting at it on comms that more than once actually that Miles Bourne could be going on his own very soon, and yeah, I mean, he looked great. That match was fantastic. To be fair, like, Oba's a fantastic worker, and to pair them up was genuinely great. I can't tell if he's going to come back and maybe go for the NA title and just walk in, just immediately take it. Not entirely sure that even makes sense, but he could do it. Is he going to still be in this scene that he's in currently, or is he going to skip on? Fantastic, because I want to see him graduate, and I didn't think that even 8 weeks ago, when I'd literally first sat down to watch NXT for the first time since it was the original takeovers that would happen. But the turnaround is, yeah, credit to him. Yeah,
Is this a good problem to have, Daz? Because that just adds another one to this logjam that we've been talking about for the last few weeks.
A logjam. Although I don't think you can hurt them when they get called up, no matter who you pair them with, whether they win or lose. I don't think it hurts them any in their initial call up. If we call them up, it's SmackDown for me and no Raw. SmackDown could be doing where a fresh up and coming singles competitor. I think the scene's just too crowded on Raw. There's too many big names on Raw. His moveset is just classic Randy Orton. That's what it is.
Yeah,
But
really
he's
is.
also got the best standing drop kick since Randy Orton was that age. So the standing drop kick is a chef's kiss. It's perfect. My only concern for Miles Bourne is, and it kind of goes back to Cody a wee bit. He's hot right now, and people like him. What happens when he gets his call up and he gets put in a program with, well, pick a name at the top of my head. Let's pick Penta. It's not going to be Penta, right? Let's pick Penta. Probably a bad example because Penta gets buried all the time, but yes, he would look good even if he doesn't go over. But how long are the fans going to buy his current gimmick? How far can that take him?
So this is going to take me right in to the last point for Battleground perfectly. You asking that question. I think Miles Bourne is primed for one of these 2 or 3 weeks on SmackDown. Not a call-up, just a showcase. A bit like Stephanie Vicker has had since Mania, a bit like Roxanne and Julia had before their official call-ups. Just, this is who this person is, and, you know, let's test them on the mic with the Miz, or let's test them in the ring with Melo or somebody like that, and just or Andrade, one of these guys that can work, and just showcase him. Maybe before he wins the NXT title, maybe he does go back and win the NXT title after that. But I think that's what he's primed for. Because I like him. I'd like to just see a slight evolution of the baby Randy thing. Like it's great because it's got him over. People know who he is because he looks like young Randy Orton to an extent. We should see a beautiful standing drop kick. Things that will get him over. I just like to see him as the type of person that when we have one of these SmackDowns where they've got a Saturday event after it and you don't want to risk injuries, we see 5 minutes of Miles Bourne, bring him in, just show what he can do.
I think if they're going to have all these events, then you should be doing that more often. At least make your Friday night worth watching if you know that more than one match is actually going to mean something.
And the reason I said that leads me into the last point for Battleground was Trick Williams went through a similar thing last year. He was on SmackDown with Melo for a while. Didn't hurt him to go back to NXT, but we were all chatting about that trick and we got to know him as a main event or a main roster talent. Now, a few weeks ago on this pod, I went out on a limb and said I think Trick Williams could be a great TNA champion in the future because it would allow him to work as the main guy because there's a bit of a log jam in the main roster. He's done the TNA title, the NXT title. This might be an opportunity for him. Lo and behold, they book him in the title match. He wins it the weekend. Almost as if I know what I'm talking about when it comes to this type of stuff. But it seems an interesting position. The TNA president at the end did not look happy. Joe Hendry did not look happy in his entrance. He looked very much Cody Rhodes WrestleMania 39. I think as long as Trick's appearing on TNA TV, I think it's fine. I think as long as the WWE aren't doing the Kenny Omega belt collector gimmick that EW did to TNA a few years ago and taking everything, I think it works. But
they are going to do that. And
has TKO bought TNA? I mean,
we don't know. That's the thing.
That's what it feels like. That's what it feels like because, and it feels like they're making a statement. And we spoke about this at WrestleMania in our very first pod. I mentioned that I don't think Joe is believable main roster WWE talent in terms of big booking. It could be on the main roster. I just don't think he's a main event talent at that level. right?
He's a mid-carder.
He is
Good
a
mid-carder, but
Just,
a
we'll
mid-carder.
just
a
you
good
wait
mid-carder.
until, you know, he's the one that
See if he
retires
needed-
John Cena. Then you see.
If you need somebody to carry the US or Intercontinental title for a couple of months, Joe's your guy. Joe could do it, no problem, right? And I said that at the time. I was just concerned about how it makes Joe look. Yes, he gets WrestleMania moment, and people are saying that he got to get in the ring with Randy Orton and put the TNA title on the map. He did, but then he loses it to a guy in NXT. What are TNA gaining out of this partnership right now? Like, Trick's undeniable. He's a superstar, and he will be in the future. But right now, what did the TNA locker room think about a developmental guy taking the world title? Is that what's going to be? Going to be TNA versus NXT? Is that where this is headed? A what?
Yeah, are they
I
going to
don't
have
know.
like a joint for third?
Is that possibly what they're going to do? Like, see TNA. I've tried to watch it recently because it's clearly been bled in to WWE. It's clearly they're trying to bleed it in. And I know we spoke about too many PLEs. I think they've just got too many promotions right now, because we're getting Worlds Collide. Obviously, Del Rio's not on the card for Worlds Collide, but we've just got so much talent.
Del Rio's not on the card, but his title is.
His title is, yeah.
Just don't tell that to
Yeah.
Mexico, because Mexico still believe he has that title. So
He does
until the weekend.
He does until the weekend. Yeah, I'm really concerned about the whole TNA deal. I don't really know whose decision it is to book it, because you're right. The bit at the end didn't look like he was particularly. I mean, it could just be the story. The guy could be putting
Could be the
that away.
story. We could be
No, I
talking
mean,
about this in
could
6
be-
weeks' time going, wow,
yeah,
what a great start to that story that was, eh?
But I just feel like that's not how it was originally booked or agreed. Was the feeling I got, the vibe I got off that match was that Joe was originally booked to retain, and something's changed along that. That's how it felt. I don't know.
We discussed, Ross and I
that.
discussed during the holiday, that from a Trick perspective, it's great. He can be a top guy and he can go and feud with Nick Nemeth and these people that can help elevate him and prepare him for a main roster. Does this position TNA as a stepping stone between NXT and the main roster? Does it position it below NXT? And then the other question I would ask is, we discussed that, is it part of we'll give you somebody like Trick Williams to help with your brand as part of an exchange deal to have Joe Hendry? That is not the vibe I was getting at the weekend there.
Yeah, it's a very interesting one. In terms of point one, you would have to assume that at best it's the pair of them fighting out for third place between TNA and NXT in the hierarchy. But you could, if you're looking at it cynically, if an NXT talent is taking your top title, NXT has to be above your brand, surely.
When was the last time a TNA World Champion was a top tier wrestler? Like, with all due respect to Nick Nemeth.
Probably back to like Christian Cage days, probably.
I mean,
yeah.
Nick Nemeth is the FKA Dolph Ziggler, great, but ultimately his last title in WWE was the NXT Championship.
But see when he won it as Nick Nemeth, was he as good as he was?
No, but
like as a talent, like, do you know what I mean?
But he's not been a world champion for 10 years plus, a real world champion. Apologies, TNA. The TNA title's not been a world champion since the Kurt Angle, Samoa Joe.
How bigger than AEW, I know. So, every cloud.
More history, you know.
But I do think that that Joe Henry will be a WWE signed talent. I think that I would even go as far as to say that there's maybe been a sort of wink wink nudge nudge, and that's maybe actually already been done in some way, and especially will we have, if TKO have indeed, as we suspect, maybe have bought TNA, then he is a WWE talent anyway, in which case, you know, job's a good one.
Right, let's crack on, because we could be here for hours and hours and hours on it, and this is why we've done this spin-off for the channel, to try and help us split this up over the course of the week. I'm just looking at the TNA title runs, just quickly to wrap this conversation. Trick Williams, Joe Henry, Nick Nemeth, Moose, Alex Shelley. 2021, you had Kenny Omega and Christian Cage. All right, Kenny Omega is at that level, but that wasn't really TNA's champion. That was AEW's champion.
That was the Forbidden Door, wasn't
you've got Eric Young, Sami Callihan, Brian Cage, Johnny Impact was never a world champion. Austin Aries never got their Penta in 2018.
So there you go, 7 years ago.
Even then,
So would
Penta's
Penta
never
have been
been
an undeniable talent back then?
he's never been a world champion elsewhere, and his brother was also in the match.
Facts.
Technically, the last one,
Christian Cage.
July 2017. This was when Jeff Jarrett took control again. It was Global Force Wrestling for about 3 weeks. It was Alberto El Patron. And then Lashley before that. So that's, and then Drew Galloway. So that you're talking 8 to 10 years since somebody who you would say has been a main event talent in the WWE was a main event talent world champion in TNA. Nick Nemeth, alright, maybe we're being overly harsh, but his last title run in the WWE was the NXT Championship, so that just means it's at the same level, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah. I think that's fair.
This is a long one tonight. Monday Night Raw. I will rattle off the quick hits to start with. I was going to keep them for halfway through, but I'll rattle them off right now. In fact, no, I won't. Before we do the Monday Night Raw, second, mid-roll, plug, giveaway time. We now have 2 channels. We need to grow the second channel for the wrestling content. So we want everybody out there to help us reach 750 followers and 50 subscribers on the main Nerd Fandemic, TikTok and YouTube respectively. We want to then hit 250 and 25 for TikTok and YouTube on the Golden Shovel podcast channels. If we do that, we'll do some giveaways. If we can do that before Money in the Bank in less than 2 weeks' time, we'll do a third giveaway. Give away as much stuff as we can. So that's the challenge. When we hit those, we'll do a giveaway. If we do it before next Saturday night at midnight UK time, we'll start the giveaways early. We'll get 2 or 3 giveaways out over the course of June. We've not decided what it'll be. It'll either be some sort of wrestling mystery box type thing, a PSA slab, something like that. It'll be interesting. We'll keep it interesting. We did put a TikTok up on this page. If the first person to comment on it probably should get something free anyway, because that was the challenge. The first 20 people have a chance to win it.
I'll be right back.
But we'll maybe even do winner's choice. Like if you win,
Are you telling me though that the winner doesn't get to go 1-on-1 with the Undertaker player? Is that what you're telling me?
Can neither confirm nor deny. Is Teddy Long on Cameo?
Oh, yes.
Because if he is, he's going to do it.
Book it for the main event next week.
$100. Oh, Teddy Long isn't available right now. You can either say happy birthday, ask a question, receive a pep talk. I love a pep talk for Teddy Long. That's a shame. So giveaway time 7:50 and 7:50 and 20:50 on the main channels and TikToks, and 2:50-25 on the podcast stuff. And let us know what you think the giveaway should be. Within reason. You're not going to WrestleMania next year. You're not going to the Rumble.
If we're not going, neither are you.
Like going New Orleans?
Going. If you want to buy my tickets off me, I'll do you at a discount. Monday Night Raw. Okay. Quick hits. We'll rattle through the opening segment and just say Paul Heyman's great in the mic. Seth Rollins is great in the mic. We know what's happening. But I just feel like every Monday Night Raw for the last 6 years, ever since they went to 3 hours, especially since they went to 3 hours with no ads, has just been opening generic heel promo. Fine, great, but the story, okay, they've brought in the third man, but the actual story hasn't really progressed yet. Let's start moving that story on, as we've discussed. I still don't give a fuck about Rusev, but at least him versus Sheamus is moving on. At least it'll be a fight. I've seen a comment today somewhere on Twitter or Instagram, and I actually agree with it. The fact that Sheamus's gimmick is just, I want to fight this person and I will fight them in the ring, it works. It's good. It's fine. I like it. The Liv and the Liv and Raquel split's coming. Even if she deserves it, is there a risk there that we're just going to have Rhea, Liv, and Io as your main event picture again because there's no one else? Obviously, we'll talk about Liv in a wee second. And final bit is solid Gunther promo again. thought Jay's rebuttal was a bit, could have been better, could have been worse. It was fine. He'd elevated himself in the last few weeks. I thought he'd dropped back on the level. But looking at my notes here, I have noted Cena is ruining wrestling. Gunther is the bastion of this is what professional wrestling should be. Should that not be where Gunther's focusing his efforts? Like rather than JSO on YouTube. Because he's bigging up the YouTuber almost. I will fight the YouTuber rather than saying I'm going to. So that's the quick.
I think they're trying to change public opinion on. They're trying to use Gunther to change public opinion on Logan Paul. They're trying to get people to believe that he can wrestle.
Which means he's going to be a world champion in the next couple of years.
Yes.
Main points. Again, this is something I've said almost every week in the pod about characters, about people. It's like, it's great you can do in this scenario, but let me see it week in, week out against different opponents, against different people. Lyra versus Becky. Becky's been brilliant. Lyra has been allowed to be so strong. I thought it was a great clapback.
Oh, yeah.
Your hot husband, the only successful thing, great clapback. It's a last chance match. I'm expecting this might be the Bayley return. I think Lyra probably retains. I don't think it'll be clean. But can Lyra do this when it's not the person she's known for 10, 15 years with a pre-existing relationship, with the Irish accents flying? I'm all in on Lyra Valkyria. I think she's been brilliant. I think she's deserved it. I think she's earned. I think the Intercontinental title matters compared to the US Women's title. Ross, you're the same as me. You've been like, wow, brilliant. But is she going to move on to the next feud and still maintain that level?
I really hope so. I really hope so, because it does come across, and obviously, as you say, it could just be that familiarity is like helping her, and kind of they're maybe even using this as a way to ease her in and then go perform here and then go. I really hope so. I think she's been utterly tremendous, and we've spoke about her a lot in the last few weeks. Daz has been jet setting across the world and has actually missed some of the discourse around this. Are you in the same boat as us, where we really do think she could be one for the top?
Yes, I do think Lyra has the makeup to be a top star. I do. I always felt the Irish accent could potentially hinder you, depending on how thick it is, because
especially two of them. It's not us trying to talk.
I don't like. I said this before I went on holiday. I don't like listening to Becky on TV. I like listening to her on podcasts and stuff because it's more authentic. I feel like she really has to try to get across on TV to the point where it feels like she's shouting. Where I do disagree with you is I think Becky Hogan wins the title. I think she's going to take it off Lyra. And the reason being, dropping the title to Becky doesn't harm Lyra at all. It doesn't make her look weak. I do think it will be the return of Bayley, but I still think Becky comes out on top.
I'm only saying the opposite because I felt as though the change had to happen last time to then follow the feud. They went a different direction. It's worked. I say different direction based on what we thought was going to happen. It's worked. But so I'm saying I would predict Lyra, but I'm not saying it's 100% certain.
The reason I say it is I think they need a big match for Evolution, and I think it'll be Becky and Bayley for the ice. It could even be triple threat, to be fair.
Right.
Well, I love a triple threat right now. I wouldn't even be shocked.
Becky will be champion. They need to sell tickets for that event. Becky will have a belt for that event, in my opinion.
I mean, it also frees up potentially Lyra for a SmackDown US Women's title run to potentially rescue that title, which was from different people. So, it's working really, really well. That clapback just is part of what's been brilliant about her. We've always known she can go in the ring. The fact that we're now seeing it on the mic is superstardom in a company like the E.
Mm-hmm.
We probably should have put the next bit in the quick hits. But Kairi Sane, finally a singles win on Raw, first singles win in 6 years. Arguably worse than the women's match at Saturday Night Main Event.
You could see the ring rust, couldn't you?
Yeah, 100%. Liv was so gassed as well.
Again, that's the only. Was that a qualifying match? Or wasn't it a qualifying match? Was it?
No, it wasn't qualified. She wanted a qualifying match, but she got Kairi Sane instead.
Because they had the qualifying match week before. I know Liv wasn't gone for long.
I think most of it was.
On the end of that,
I think the most of it though was saying like there's a couple of moments where she's just too slow, and
even the endings a bit shit. Like
it was weird.
The insane elbow is as nice an elbow drop as there's ever been in the WWE, and yet we're getting a fucking roll up. Like
it was odd.
I think that's done to protect Liv Morgan, obviously, on her return. But I gave Kairi benefit of the doubt with the Zoe Stark thing, right? Yeah, she was a bit slow, but why are you going to commit to that move if the other person is not ready? Right? Do you know what I mean? You're taking a massive risk, and what the fuck she was trying to do, I don't know. Similar to the Chelsea incident, if you want botch, just fucking botch instead of trying to get your legs.
Protect yourself, protect your opponent at all times. It's like the first two rules of the ring.
100%. So I gave her the benefit of the doubt. She's always been like this, Kairi. She's never been, in my opinion, a brilliant worker. She was okay in her developmental days, and she was over. I just don't think she's a main roster talent, and that's where I'm at with it.
The in-ring doesn't quite match the character. Whereas you look at, it's easy to compare. It's easier to compare to Io and Asuka for obvious reasons, coming from Japan, working a similar style, and they were all in the same faction.
Yep.
And obviously she's worked with Asuka for a long time before that as the Kabuki Warriors, but she's just not as good as them. She's again she'll benefit for the women's mid card titles. She's a good. That's the level, and that's not to knock her. I just.
Is she believable at that level? Do you think?
Yes.
Yeah, so mid-level. I can see it.
So would you be happy? If Kairi took the title off Lyra, would you say that's good booking?
No, if she took it off Selena, I would say it's good booking.
I could take it off Selena, it'd be good booking.
Exactly. Roscoe tag division. I still don't give a shit about it.
Yeah,
insert poo emoji.
It's very much that nobody cares, mate.
Why did they make a triple threat?
Because the WWE are absolutely obsessed to triple threats and let someone else eat the pin. We need to have this match. You can't win. They can't lose. Therefore, this other lot are going to lose.
So let me ask you the question in black and white. The tag division right now is ass. It's been ass for weeks. There's still the New Day winning like a schoolboy against the ropes type thing, right? To get booed. Asking this question, black and white, Ross. When the New Day turned heel last year and turned on Big E, it was a top 10 heel turn in my time in wrestling, and that we did not expect a turn, but not against Big E.
Yeah.
To use the real life event of him, his probable retirement as the turn is like sickening, but in a good heel way.
Yeah.
But did they waste that momentum by waiting so long to put the titles on them? Like,
yeah,
they didn't do anything with it, and now they're like, we need to try and build that back up. But you had it nearly a year ago. Is that why has the whole division suffered because of that?
In a way, yeah, because quite often the division is only reflected by the people at the top. You know, if you don't have someone as believable at the top, or if you don't have someone who's able to get the right reaction at the top, then if you're saying they're the best, then what does that make everyone else below them? It doesn't make it believable, and they can't retire Big E again, so they ain't gonna hit that again. They need to drop the heel. I don't know how you do it, because they're not.
I know how you do it.
They're not even like interesting though. Do you know? I'd love to hear your thoughts, Daz, on how you would do it.
White 6 showed up in the wrong show. White 6 should have been on Raw to take the titles and salvage the New Day. That's what the booking would be for me. You should be on Raw because the heel turn, like you say, Saunders, was brilliant, amazing.
And they wasted that.
It literally feeds into the whole Wyatt 6 mantra. You don't turn the back on the ones that you love. And I think that if you set up the gimmick with New Day as champions and give it to any makeup of the 4, right, how they would probably take one for their first title run. But it could be like New Day where they just interchange champions. But it would have been a perfect way to get their gimmick over with one of the biggest heel turns in recent history.
Mm.
Save their souls, salvation, and take their titles, write them off TV for a while, and they can come back repackaged. That's why it doesn't make sense to me that they showed up in SmackDown.
The thing with the New Day is, and this is what's weird, we're not saying the heel turn hasn't worked. Like, it did work. We hated them, but we as wrestling fans who will suspend belief within the universe of reality in the WWE to enjoy a show, as we've done for a number of years, we're like, you bastards. Like, we hated them after loving them for so long and being like, these are the greatest tag team of all time. They're up there. So it's not like we're saying, like, seeing about this really working. It's like, it worked. You just wasted the momentum. And, like, I don't understand why. The tag division's ass. And I'm like, the New Day, there's no one better, really, available to
In terms
help
of
that.
workers, there isn't. In terms of people who can work, there isn't.
While we're at it, just pop War Machine or War Raiders to TNA or something. Like, I just feel
turned into the Highlanders. That's exactly how they've turned into.
They're fatter and worse. I don't mean that in a bad way. Just, I'm not enjoying their work, unfortunately. I'm just not enjoying it. And
They're one-dimensional. They don't fit entertainment TV. They fit wrestling TV. They were good in black and gold. That is what they're good at. They're not. I mean, the mic work is terrible. It's really, really poor. Only one of them can really speak on the mic, and he's not particularly gifted. Really bizarre turn of events that they held the titles for as long as they did, but probably it's just the whole division sucks.
It was the Clash of Clans sponsorship.
100%.
That's what it was.
100%.
Two final Raw points. We'll just keep it short. A rumor came out the other day that he's on something like $7 million a year, roughly, in terms of earnings for the WWE. But triple threat pin Balor eats another pin.
I would take pins for $7 million.
I'd take a lot more than that for $7 million a year, but
it's a family-friendly show.
Yeah. Has the Judgment Day ran its course? Because it was the same. We've seen this finish before with Rollins, with the slide of the chair and the curb stomp. Like, are we just running out of ideas now? The Liv Morgan Raquel thing's coming. Should that split the whole Judgment Day up?
Yes.
Ross?
Yeah, I agree with Darren. Simple.
Aye.
Yeah,
I think you're going to get.
Yeah, I think that when you get Balor's reaction earlier on in the night of, she's back, and he's like, yes, she is. It's going to be like a proper, like, rip apart all at the seams and come what may. You're right, though. Should probably just do it sooner rather than later, because then you've probably got about 3 storylines that you can weave out of that, and there's a couple of months worth of television that just writes itself. So,
and Daz coming to you on that, what we're seeing Finn Balor with that big, almost like a Joker-like smile, right? It's a funny character. It's there. He teased doing the whole bit, right? He's showing the signs of doing his own thing again. He's still one of the best wrestlers in the world. But can he really be a puppet master type character whilst losing every single match that he's in? That's my question for you.
No, he can't. However, I would like to think that the turn is imminent. Unfortunately for Judgment Day, that means that Raquel and Carlito fade into oblivion because they're no longer required at that point. Carlito's a dead set for TNA, by the way.
Or Triple A.
Or Triple A. He definitely is. But I think Finn and Roxanne are going to go to the moon when this split happens. Unfortunately, I think it will come at Dom's expense, which I'm unhappy about in terms of the title picture.
The only thing about that, though, is Daz, Dom is not dropping the IC title to go backwards in his career.
No, and that's the positive. That's the positive. He's going the other way.
Aye.
Yes, I think it's going to be refreshing when the split happens, and I hope it's soon, because it gives Liv a new dimension with Roxanne. I think that's a really good feud in the making. I like the look at it. Dom and Finn will feed families if they book it correctly. Because as much as we joke and call him Pin Balor, he is still one of the best in-ring workers they've got. He is that good. And he's been touted for a singles push this year. So it's got to happen soon. Yes, fuck him. Absolutely. I know you're not watching, Dave. Fuck you anyway.
Family friendly show.
I think that
Over PG-13, you get one more.
listen,
You get one more.
if the Rock can do it on Raw, I can do it on this podcast. I think we're getting to a breaking point in the company across a couple of brands where we just need to mash things up and get rid. The
For the
Bloodline,
seventh
Bloodline.
episode in a row, give me 6 people in Hell in a Cell. Just
Yeah,
fucking chaos.
I
There you
think
go.
that
And now we're not PG-13 anymore. So
we need rid of the Bloodline. We need rid of the solo Bloodline. We need rid of the Judgment Day. We need rid of some stale tag teams on Raw. We need to shuffle some out of SmackDown onto Raw and freshen it up. I don't think they've confirmed a shake-up date.
No.
But it needs to happen soon. It's just so many storylines have got stale that I'm sick of it. I'm just... Every time the Judgment Day come on TV, I know I'm getting some joke about nuggies or chicken tenders. WWE's 2K25's paused with the controls on the screen. Carlito's going to say something funny.
Eat an apple.
You know what I mean?
I still can't
I've
believe
said it
that
now.
somebody isn't sponsoring the chicken nuggets / tenders segment. Like, why isn't it like a KFC box? It just
yeah.
Yeah.
but that's coming. I just
Seems weird.
I'm enjoying it on a weekly basis, right? But every few weeks I look back and go, look, what's that? You know what I mean? Look what's happened. All right, the Judgment Day backstage stuff's really funny, but it's been 4 weeks.
What does it serve?
What's happening? They made the joke about time zones. Yeah, it was good fun, but what purpose does it serve? Like,
What are we actually doing it?
Could they ruin Dom? Probably not. But like, don't waste the momentum. Just talked about the New Day. Don't waste that momentum he's got. Like, you saw it at WrestleMania. Just don't waste it. And if that means splitting them up early, having them drop the title to then move them to something else, then he can handle it now. But see if you have them go stale in 6 months' time, try it. It could take another year to build it back up, 2 years to build it back up. Yep. That's my worry. Is if you let it go stale first, there's a risk.
I think it's all going to break down, run about Money in the Bank into SummerSlam. It's got to break down at that point because there's realistically nowhere else to take it beyond that.
But this is what I'm trying to say, right? So Money in the Bank, I'm looking at the card now. Then you've got Night of Champions,
which Dom will feature in.
Then you've got a Saturday Night Main Event. Then you've got SummerSlam. Like, it's
Tozawa versus John Cena at the next Saturday Night Main Event.
I mean, who the fuck knows at this point?
John Tozawa.
Final point for Raw. Noting the time. Penta, Dragon Lee, Chad Gable. Great TV match. Penta looked unreal again. Dragon Lee looked phenomenal. That dive to the table was just, I mean,
no
thought.
That is attempted murder.
Yeah, like that is someone who has no concern for their own safety, never mind the safety of anyone else.
I think this is the perfect time to insert the Michael Jordan meme. He signed all these luchadors, and I took that personally. He's decided that he's actually going to show up. But that dive was fucking insane.
Beautiful.
Aye, it was a great match. I don't think Penta will ever be a WWE World Champion, but like, I want him to be. Like, I love the music, I love the presentation, I love the in-ring work. I was concerned about the booking, we're all aware, but fuck me, he's that guy's good in the ring. Like, it's like these destroyers are so good, they're putting people away. He's using his own finisher again, as well as that. It's great to watch. That being said, we do have 2 more talking points from the general scope of the E in the last 7 days. That takes us into the first one. They have spoiled the AAA event this weekend. They have announced everywhere apart from Mexico that El Hijo de Kingo. Trying to get it right. I'm trying to get it right without sounding like a dick to the Mexicans.
after making a joke about the Mexicans literally 30 seconds prior.
versus Chad Gable will be for the AAA Mega World title, which is hardly surprising. They were never going to promote Alberto De Patron at all on a WWE event or show, but it didn't. The Mexicans got a different graphic because, I mean, absolute textbook Vince booking. Like that's something Vince McMahon would do. The Mexicans don't have it on it, so that's one potential nominee for a Golden Shovel this week.
It's my nominee.
It's my nominee, especially when you add the fact that Gable lost the match, and then he's now challenging for a world title.
The one thing I've got, right, and I don't know why this is in my head, Gable's not going to be at AAA. El Grande Americano is going to win the title.
I think that's, but so does that have not made sense then to have Gable qualify for?
No, but he's a
because
different person.
You run the risk of him getting injured.
Yeah.
If you book him for double duty, because then you need to admit that Gable is El Grande Americano. Then you need to kill the whole gimmick.
Whoa. What are you talking about?
Is there a possibility at Worlds Collide that El Grande Americano shows up to help Gable win the title?
I mean,
and it's Kurt Angle, and
it's somebody else. Aye, is that the thing? The other thing that we've mentioned throughout this whole show is no WWE Championship, no World Heavyweight Championship, and more than likely no Women's World Championship on the Money in the Bank card. I still think we'll see the WWE Women's title might appear. That's 3/4 of World Championships off the card. Does it sell the Money in the Bank ladder matches as your main events? Probably not, because the tag match will main event.
One opens, one closes. In theory, the tag match will main event, but
does it bury the whole event as to an extent by saying like it's another PLE without your World Championships in the line?
It's one of the 4 I look forward to most every year, and this year I'm not looking forward to it. The reason being that you don't have your World Champions booked with that immediate threat of cash in.
Yeah.
Because in theory, if one of them gets beaten up, in theory they've got a partner this year. Do you know what I mean? In theory,
unless we do get that kiosk bit where they try and cash in, there happens to be 5 people in the ring.
For example. Yeah, I get it. But, I don't really know. To be fair, I've not seen the rest of the cards not been booked yet. It's not really booked.
I can give you the card just now because I had it up.
We've obviously got a tag match. We've got 2 ladder matches.
And Lyra, Becky, that's it so far.
Lyra, Becky's
There'll likely be a 5th match.
They'll book a 5th match.
Which will be...
Who is that going to be?
John Cena against...
Dom, maybe? But you've left it a bit late to book him a programme, so...
Unless it's an
immediate...
I don't know, actually. I'm looking at this and I'm looking at my notes for the pod and I'm looking at the match card and I don't see the feud that fits. Is it the women's US title? But then that's 2 mid-card women's titles. Doesn't it feel quite right?
Is it Sheamus? Is it going to be Rusev?
It could be Rusev Sheamus, or it could be another. Here's a quick 2-week John Cena feud.
He's got a match. He's in a tag match.
Cena's in a tag match in the main event, though.
Then
that's the problem.
Cena's definitely not in double duty, not his age.
Is it tag titles?
It can be pre-show-esque. It can be.
It's
Mellow Black, maybe.
Again, that you just run the risk of one of the guys losing all momentum. I don't know.
I agree.
I don't know. And that's what I've got in my notes here. Is it a joint golden shovel, or are we going to pull the plug? Because, like, realistically, outside of Mexico, do any of us actually care about the AAA World title? Not really, especially because Gable's not a AAA wrestler. Money in the Bank.
That level of cock up when you've just partnered with the biggest name in the industry is monumental. So for me, it buries
the AAA World title.
100%.
I think I agree. I think I also partly agree because that's the big story this week, and we can bury Money in the Bank next week or the week after when we see the fifth match. Aye,
yeah, absolutely.
Before we bury Evolution after that. I mean, that's it. That's it for us this week. Wait, Ross, time-wise here?
That was a very nice and concise hour and 40 minutes. So that just shows you just how much wrestling there was this week in the
5 shows to unpack's quite a lot, to be fair.
I think
you're getting some bumper content, guys.
I think we might need to consider, especially that weekend where we've got Evolution
splitting it to different pods
and splitting and doing a podcast after the Friday, Saturday, and then bringing you a normal Wednesday wrap up. So that's it from us this week in the Golden Shovel. As we've said a few times throughout and over on TikTok, this is a brand new channel for the podcast. It's part of trying to grow it to bring more wrestling content each week. We have some great ideas lined up. I've already put in the Discord that we're hoping to fantasy book Wrestlemania next year.
Yeah.
And also something I really want to do is fantasy book the Hall of Fame, because I think it's just great fun. We all get to pitch in for people that we love or hate or whatever reason and say why. So we'll hope to bring that content in the next couple of weeks. The giveaways details are earlier, and we'll set them down below in the description box. But $7.50 on TikTok, $7.50 on TikTok, and $50 on here for the main channel, and $2.50 and $25 for the new wrestling channel. So signing off this week's podcast from Daz, Ross.
Pleasure as always, folks. Enjoy your 1 hour and 41 minutes of bumper Golden Shuffle action, and we'll see you all next week.
Apologies in advance. Or repent, I suppose.
If anybody watches the whole podcast, comment banana hammock down below and we'll send you some.
Yes, you deserve it.
Take it easy.
The podcast equivalent of Saturday Night Main Event.
Aye, we're really sorry. This is the point of 2 channels. Take it easy, guys, and we'll see you in the next one.